Now, if we can turn your attention to the podium, let's welcome the Secretary of the West Virginia Department of Transportation, as well as the Commissioner of the West Virginia Division of Highways, Mr. Tom Smith.
Thank you so much. It truly is a great day to be here in the Welch. This is the second day of Jim's Promise Tour, and it's just a wonderful opportunity. We don't get out to Welch as much as we'd like to, and it's a... There we go. 1, 2, better. It's a great day for us to be here, and we are here to celebrate Jim's Promise Tour, and he's going to tell you more about that as I get a chance to introduce him here in a minute. I'm going to make some brief remarks and talk a little bit about the program, but then I know Governor Justice is passionate about this in the biggest sort of way, so I always look forward to hearing what additional remarks he makes, and I'll be very brief and we'll get to that. I want to thank a couple of groups before I get started. The first group I'd like to thank are our West Virginia contractors and our West Virginia consultants. That we have a wonderful partnership in West Virginia between the private side and the public side. It's a way that you get stuff done. It's the way America operates, and our contractors and consultants truly help us, and they will help us in the biggest sort of way on this landmark program that we are about to embark on. And we need the help, and so I really appreciate them. The second group, and I've been the Commissioner of Highways now for 6 months, and I just cannot emphasize enough the awesome men and women of the West Virginia Division of Highways. It's just remarkable what I've seen. I've been in West Virginia for 19 years and worked closely with them as a former federal highway administrator. But what I've seen in the 6 months I've been here is they are truly remarkable. The dedication, the hard work, tireless as far as serving the public, and they don't get enough credit. And so to the West Virginia Highway Department folks, I want to say well done. What I'd like to do, the one individual I want to introduce in the room here, and there's a strategic reason for me to do that, is Alan Reed, our district engineer for District 10. If you have easy questions or compliments, please direct them to me. If you have hard questions, Alan's the person to take them to. So he is our district engineer and the face of the highway department, the first face of the highway department out here in the field. So thank you, Alan. Well, I want to tee this up a little bit to talk about the program. And what I will say is, among many virtues that Governor Justice has, one virtue that he has is he's a very impatient man. Now, maybe that doesn't sound like a virtue, but it is. And the reason that's a virtue in this case is there's truly not a moment to lose. This is about saving our state, folks. And I can tell you, he turns the heat up on us in the cabinet secretary position to not lose any time to actually make this happen and make it happen sooner rather than later. And so I count that as a virtue. So what we realized with this landmark program that we've got, $2.8 billion, that's eye-popping, $2.8 billion. It's unprecedented in West Virginia history. That we didn't have a moment to lose either, and so we, by smart planning, I think, tried to figure out how can we be running across the starting line at a full gallop. We can't just be waiting to start when the gun goes off. We got to be running at a full clip. So the first thing I'll say is, think about this. The legislative session ended at the end of June. We don't have the first penny of new money in our hands yet. It takes a while for that to trickle in. We don't have the first new person hired at West Virginia DOT to handle this program. But we've actually leveraged $350 million of work that's going out in July, August, and September. I'm real proud of that. That's a lot of hard work by the Highway Department. But we've leveraged $350 million of work that'll be starting this year immediately, even without any of those dollars. We've done that by shifting priorities around, by moving stuff up, by getting stuff started with the idea that dollars will start trickling in. I'll speak just a little bit more about that in a minute, but that $350 million is 1.5 times the stimulus program from 2009. If you remember that big stimulus program for transportation, it was like in West Virginia, it was $220 million. In short order, we've already got 350 moving out the door, and you're going to be seeing those. The projects that we have today that are featured are smaller projects, but you're going to see those projects starting immediately this year, and we're really proud of that. It's a good thing. This is a historic program. 20 years from now, people will be looking back and saying, do you remember Governor Justice's program 20 years ago, what they did in 2017? Again, the size of this is eye-popping, that when you just really reflect back, people will think back and say, how did they do that? How did they get that going? And it's right upon us. Governor Justice, thank you for your leadership. Governor Justice had the idea. He fleshed out that idea and created the vision for what this would look like, and then he pushed it across the finish line. So we're going to find ourselves very, very busy now. Keep in mind this provides immediate economic recovery, thousands and thousands and thousands of immediate jobs, gives people hope here. It gives us an avenue to actually address some of the opioid problems we have. So again, this program goes a lot of different ways beyond just highways. It goes out and has a ripple effect through our entire economy. At West Virginia DOT, we take this responsibility seriously. We're going to make this program work. We're going to do it right. We recognize that's an awesome responsibility, and we're happy to step up to it. And so this is going to be a good experience, and we're going to make it work and do it the correct way. I'm real proud of what the program looks like. It's every county in the state. It's every type of work from minor slips to pulling ditches to cutting in pipes to doing resurfacing to replacing bridges to correcting slides to doing major interstate reconstruction to working on roads like the Coalfields Expressway to put new pavement down and be able to open it. So this program has every type of work in it. It's in every county. It will affect every citizen in the state of West Virginia. So we are, again, proud of this. We're pushing it out in waves. We pushed out a wave that actually worked on U.S. routes, that two-lane U.S. routes that have been sorely in need of resurfacing. We pushed out the next wave, which is actually using that money that's trickling in about $10 million a month. We are actually saying, why don't we get to the secondary off-federal system routes, with the idea that you all have been telling us you need to get to those routes, but we never get to them. And so over the next year, there's $100 million set aside just for those little secondary routes. That's where we're spending that money wisely. We'll eventually, as we get to the referendum in October, and the governor's going to tell you about that, and we bond out that money, we'll need it for debt service. But the first year, we're able to get to these secondary routes. And so it's the right way to spend money, and it's the roads that you all have told us need attention. Then in October, we're going to have what's called a Garvey bond sale. It's where we leverage our federal funds that we get. We get about $450 million a year. We're going to set aside about $50 million of that every year for bonding. And this bond sale in October will be $230 million all in one day. That is the single biggest bond sale for transportation purposes in the history of the state of West Virginia. But wait, there's more. At the point that we have the referendum passed on October 7th, and the citizens of West Virginia have been telling us we need to get this done, then we, in the first part of next year, April, May timeframe, we'll be actually bonding out $600 to $800 million, and these will be the big ticket type of projects that we have. The Nitro St. Albans, the Coalfields Expressway paving, the Wheeling bridges up on I-70. The big bond package enables us to get to these bigger projects, and it's just very important that you understand the structure of this. So enough of me. I want to make a quick statement about the two projects we're highlighting today, resurfacing of West Virginia 161, Pageston Elkhorn Road. It's about $570,000. Be starting its bid in August, and so it'll be starting this year. And then the second one will be replacing the Green Bee and Margie Blankenship Bridge along County 3 in McDowell County. It's about $2.6 million. It will be one of the projects that's funded through that Garvey bond sale in October. So it'll be starting up early next year, just bonded out, actually get the project. The projects, Garvey projects, are actually already going through the letting process. So some of that work can start this year, but most of the bridge work can happen in the winter and occur in the winter and then really ramp up in the spring. So we mention those because this program is big projects, it's small projects, it's every type of work. It's wonderful for us to be here in Welch today. We're not here enough, and we're here to feature these things, but we'll be back as we get closer to some of those other bigger projects. So again, enough for me. I want to introduce our 36th governor, Governor Jim Justice. He's the man who came up with this idea. He's the man who pushed it across the finish line. I am proud to be a member of your team, Governor Justice, and proud to be a part of this program. Thank you.
Let me say this. You know, along the way, you're blessed with hiring good people that really do shine and really, really make a difference. I can tell you unequivocally, and this is not just blowing smoke. This is a superstar right here. I mean, and please, please note this is a superstar. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He's jacked up all the time. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And the job he's doing is just astronomical. That's all there is to it. Now, he's got an incredible wave of staff that's with him and everything, and he compliments them constantly about the work they do. But you got to have a leader of the band. You got to have someone that leads with enthusiasm and real courage and real fire and everything, and he does it. So please give him a great big round of applause because he is a superstar. Tom, thank you. Now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get my little stool, and I'm going to come around here, and I'm going to talk to you here. Because you can hear me without the mic and all that kind of stuff, and I got a bad, bad knee on top of that. Now, let me tell you this. This is home to me. I see lots and lots of friends here. I see these two characters that are sitting right here, Ronald and Gordon. A long time ago, I'm going to tell you this story before I go any further. Not too terribly long ago, but they called me, and they had a piece of property right out of town, and they had done a lot of work, and they had Governor Underwood on board, and they came to me and they said, will you bid? Will you bid on this property? And we don't have much money, and here's what we want to do. We want to build a prison. We want to build a prison in Welch. And we want to bring in jobs. Well, I bid, and they know. They know I bid. My bid was a tenth of the next bidder, was it not? Well, we got the job. We did the work. We cleared the land, and today we've got a prison. I only say that not because I want you to pat me on the back. I only say that because this is home to me. This is home. And I promised you as I ran for governor that there's no way that I'm going to forget home. And I'm going to do everything in my power, beyond belief, to try to bring opportunity and goodness back to home. And home spreads all through the coal fields. You know, I see Richard. I see great people all over the place here. I see the work that they've done everywhere. I see Harry. I see, it just goes on and on and on, you know. Now, we've got a big job, and you've got sadness all over the place, and you've got hope. And we've got a big job in our coal fields to bring back the goodness that surrounds us every day that we know is there. We don't want to shed more and more and more tears. We want goodness. And so I promise you with all my soul that I won't forget. I know where home is, and I'll do everything in my power every day to try to bring goodness back. Now, I've had the opportunity to be with the president. The president, not the president of the Senate, but the president, you know, over and over and over in the last weeks. In fact, the other day, when he flew into Beckley, West Virginia to go to the Scouts, when he landed, you know, he called, and I've presented a couple of ideas to him that are gigantic ideas. Now, I don't really know if we can get across the finish line for sure, but they're gigantic ideas. One of them surrounds coal and bringing mining back to our state that is off the chart. You see, how did we lose the mining industry? A lot of people say, well, we overregulated. Well, we did. And a lot of people say, well, Obama just killed us, and he did. There's no question whatsoever, you know. But we lost the coal industry in a lot of ways because of technology and the fact that we became to where we were unable to market our product and mine our product at the dollar that it was selling for. Now, the net of the whole thing is gas displaced some of our coal, and regulations absolutely killed us, and perception of what we should be doing in the world by the Obama administration killed us. But then on top of all that, what really happened was the Western coal, they found a way to get Western coal to the Eastern power plants and displace us. You know, Georgia Power, which is Southern Company, used to burn 40 million tons of Central App coal. Today, they burn 0. At one time, we mined 197 million tons in West Virginia. And today, we're going to absolutely scrape the bottom of the barrel to get to 80. Almost a third. Or a little greater than a third. You wonder where your mining jobs have gone. You wonder where your communities have gone. You know, we need a new high school in Welch at some point in time, and it'd be a AAA school. Do you know what we'd have to do to have that? We've got to have employment. We've got to have the stores filled up downtown. We've got to have roads. We've got to have opportunity. We've got to have the drugs gone. We've got to have all kinds of things. That's my wish. Right there's my wish. A AAA school in Welch. My wish is just that. Because all that comes with that is goodness. Now, to get to that, we got a great big mountain to climb. You know, I'm pitching as hard as I can to the President of the United States. When he called the other day, he said, Jim, I'm landing there, I'm going to the Scouts. Of course, I know all that and everything. And he said, meet me at the plane and ride over there with me where we can talk. Well, that's what I did. I met him at the plane, shook his hand when he came down the thing. Bless his heart, he had a great big spot right here on his lapel. I thought, gee, I mean, did he spill ketchup on him? and that's the kind of tricks that I pull off all the time. But he said, Jim, when he got in the car, he said, Jim, look at my jacket. And he was hacked about it. He said, can you believe this? He said, a reporter leaned up against me and had a red magic marker. And he said, and I've got this spot, and he said, I've tried every way in the world. I've ruined this suit trying to get this thing off and everything. But let me tell you just a little bit real quick about him. He's a good man. He's a good family man. Now, he's pretty brash because he's a little different than us and all that kind of stuff. But he's a good man. And he loves West Virginia. He really, really, really does. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. But we're going down the road, and he and myself are sitting in the back, 2 bucket seats, and 2 Secret Service guys that are sitting up front that never said a word. That's the only people in the vehicle. We're going down the road, and there's people on the side of the road waving and everything. Here's his exact words. He said, I love the people of West Virginia. They're beautiful people. They're pretty, aren't they, Jim? And I thought, well, some of the women are, but I don't know. You know. But he does care, and he does know that you're hurting. And he does know that he holds and wields a big stick. And so I'm trying to present to him 2 big ideas, giant ideas, and everything that could really do something. I don't know if they'll fly or not, but if they won't fly, we'll come up with 2 more giant ideas. And we'll keep coming with the ideas until we get there. Now, let me switch channels and go back to this. We called this Jim's Promise. Now, you can blame a lot of people for that, but that's my idea. And the reason for that is it describes everything that I'm wanting to do. It is my promise. It's not a promise just for roads. It's a promise for hope. It's a promise to make West Virginia something other than dead last in everything we coming and going. It's a promise to try to get rid of these drugs. It's a promise to do something in education. It's a promise Now, I don't make promises and don't fulfill them. I don't. I'm not a politician. I'm not one that's just going to feed you a bunch of crap and then go on down the road. I'm just Jim. But when I tell you something, I'm going to do it with all my soul. Now, I would tell you this. I am horrendously disappointed in our legislature. I mean, you don't realize, you do not realize what we did and what we walked away from. We had the opportunity to pass something that would have given rebate checks to the super poor. It would have given a tax reduction to anybody that's got an income less than $100,000. So in other words, the lower, the middle income people would have really come out really good. It would have helped tourism. It would have helped our teachers. It would have helped our miners. It would have helped all over the place. And what did we do? We just walked away. Now, at the end of the day, we passed our roads thing. And what you could have from your governor, from Jim, if he were a politician, he would say, look what I did. Look at all this greatness that we have here, and look what we did. But let me tell you, this is going to happen today. There'll be a family. It could be yours, Alan. It could be mine. The call will come from the hospital that your daughter, who's addicted to drugs, has died. Now, Jim's promise, our roads plan, and everything's great, but that doesn't go good with that family. That doesn't help that family one iota. And we just turned our back on it. Our legislature did it. They just turned their back on it. We have 800 people that died last year. You just think about it. Think about this for a second. There's a guy in South Carolina, he used to say over and over and over, he said, to me, he said, if you were a frog and you're not proud of your own pond, you're not much of a frog. All the money to market our state in tourism, what you need so badly here and everything else, stripped every bit of it out. It's gone. It's all gone. Not doodly that I can do. Close our tourism department, I guess I can do that. Now, let me tell you, you have a hard-headed fighter in me, and I'm not going to put up with them doing that stuff. Now, they may not like me for it, but at the end of the day, I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm trying to run our state for you, and I'm trying to bring goodness for you. This will do it. This will save our bacon in every way. And then everybody will sit back and say, see, I knew everything would be okay. Give me a blooming break. In the meantime, if you're that family, you can't sit back and say, see, I knew everything would be okay. Severance taxes will rise. I said it in the debate, in the general election. Everybody laughed at me. I said severance taxes will go up. I knew it because I know a lot about this business. I know a lot about the gas business, but I know a ton about the coal business. Will they stay up? I can't tell you that. But for the foreseeable future, maybe 6 months, maybe 10 months that I can really see, the severance tax revenues that will come into our state will be substantially higher than what we have projected them in the past. And that's good. That's really good. I want it to stay that way and grow and grow and grow and grow. To do that, I've got to have Donald. I've got to have him. I've got to have him initiate actions that will help us in every way possible. I'm not going to tell you exactly the plan, but it is unbelievable what it could do if I can get him to go with it. Now, let me end by saying this. This is unreal. This will bring opportunity and goodness, and surely to the Lord above, it will get you from tearing your vehicle all to pieces trying to get to the convenience store and back. You know, we can't do them all at one time, but how long has it been since somebody came to McDowell County and said, we're going to fix a road? How long has it been? How long have you been neglected, taken advantage of, asked for your vote, and then just gone off and said, we don't even know these people exist? There's a lot of people in Charleston that think the state line's Beckley. You know. But you see, I know where home is. I really do. And so you've got a big guy that fortunately, at least for you, is the big guy is in a big position. And the big guy knows where home is. Now, I want to ask you a question, and I want you to be deathly honest with me. Dead honest. Because I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you have anybody in your family or any friend that you know of that when this bond is run or this election is run on October the 7th that would vote against that? Does anybody know of anybody that would vote against, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me, is Crazy Joe or Uncle Harry, that as crazy as he can be, he's going to vote against this? Do you know anybody? Somebody, please tell me. Anybody do you know that could vote against this? Well, we're going to win this thing hands down. Well, let me tell you. Let me just tell you, in case you're not quite telling me the truth. All that you're voting for, you're not voting for whether or not we're going to raise a tax. Everything's already in place. When you go to the gas pump or when you're doing everything you're doing, it's already done. You're not going to get any additional raises in anything. All that we're doing is just this simple exercise of this. We're asking you as the voters, or you as the owner of Crazy Harry, you know, we're asking you to allow us to put together what's already in place. It's already done. Everything is already done. All we're asking you to do is allow us to put it together into a financial bond and sending it off while interest rates are low and turning it into a gigantic amount of money and build the roads. That's all we're doing. That's all you're voting on. And how there could be a soul on the planet vote against that. I mean, basically you're voting this way. You're voting, do I want government to spend the money and build the roads, or do I want government to just squander away the money? I mean, it's going to cost me the same. So if Crazy Harry comes up and says to you, I don't want to vote for that because they're going to raise my taxes, you've got to say, Crazy Harry, you are crazy, because that's not what we're voting on. And Crazy Harry, then once he understands, then you can't call him Crazy Harry anymore, because he'll be with you. Now, while I'm here, I want to give you the opportunity to ask me anything. I'm done. I'm done. But ask me anything you want to ask other than how much I weigh. Please. Yes, ma'am.
Will there be any incentive, like I have a person who wants to start up a business here in Welch.
Right.
Will there be any tax incentive coming from the state to encourage him to do this?
Can I get you down to talk to the legislature?
Yes, sir. I've got one standing over there and one up here.
Well, you need to talk to them.
I will do that.
Well, I'd appreciate it. We had earmarked $25 million It started out at $105 million. But we had earmarked $25 million. We pared it down to $25 million in what was called a Save Our State Fund. And what that was to do was to incentivize business to come here. What we did was just whacked it all out. Whacked every dime up, every last dime. Every state in the union is doing everything in the world to get business to come. They're giving chips and doing this, and they're building a commercial site, or they're putting power in there, or whatever. Every state in the union is doing it, and you're saying to business ABC, come to West Virginia, and they say, well, what are you going to do for me? And we say, well, nothing. We want you to come. And they say, no. You know, and we say, well, why can't we have jobs? And I say, look right at the very people that decided to do that. Look right at them and hold them accountable. Yes, sir.
If this bond passes, how much money is going to be earmarked for the King Cole Highway and Coalfield Expressway?
I don't know, Tom can tell them, but it's a bundle. It's a bundle.
Yes, sir. What we're doing with King Cole Highway and Coalfields Expressway, I mentioned earlier that Coalfields would be one that would actually be with the bigger bond. One of the things that I should have mentioned the King Cole Highway, because one of the earlier bond packages will be to bond out turnpike toll revenues off of the turnpike and return them to the 10 counties down in this area. And what we've done is earmarked the project over to Airport Road, the bridge to nowhere, so to speak, connecting that up and making it work. And that'll be one of the things we try to do in the December timeframe. So we've got good stuff happening for these roads, and they're sorely needed. We're going to make something happen.
Well, there's 2 counties in the state of West Virginia that don't have 4-lane highways. You're in one. The other one's next door. And we've been lied to for over 100 years about, we're going to do this for you and we're going to do that for you, but they never do it.
But I didn't tell you that, did I? Now, and when I deliver, will you be the first person to come to me and say, you did it? You were the only one in 100 years to do it.
I'd be more than happy to.
Well,
We've been lied to so much we can't hardly believe anyone anymore.
I promise you, you can buckle up. I'll do it, and it'll be done. I'll guarantee it. Let me tell you what it's going to take too. It's going to take this. We've got the potential here to bond $2.8 billion worth of work. You know, Richard has been working with the Coalfield Expressway and everything for 27 years. Is that right?
Yeah, 27 and a half right now.
27 and a half. Okay. He sounds like, you know, a guy that's 99 and 3 months old.
28th anniversary.
All right, now, I stood out there. You know, I don't know if it was after I was elected or before I was right at the end there. And I try to not say bad words, but I stood right there and I said, I'll build the damn road. You know, I mean, it's pitiful. It's pitiful to have miles and miles of cut and fill and everything all done and just laying out there. It's pitiful. Because you need it so desperately, it's unreal. Now, let me just say this. First of all, with the turnpike, we drive on the turnpike, don't we? Okay? Now, if you don't drive on the turnpike, you don't have to do this. But for you that drive on the turnpike, when you leave, if you happen to go from Princeton to Charleston and back, you pay $12 going from Princeton to Charleston and back. Is that not correct? Okay. Now, what I've come up with, and now I came up with this, who knows? I mean, I truly believe the good Lord gives me all the good ideas, and I'll trade credit for the bad ones. But I just said, we're going to do it for $8. We're going to sell an Easy Pass for $8. Now, and we're going to give you the opportunity to buy that pass here for $8, and it's going to happen pretty soon. Then you can go for a year up and down the turnpike. It costs you for nothing. It costs nothing. Every time you go through, it's just nothing. Okay. Now, but what we're going to do is I'm going to try to get them to raise those tolls to $4. So every time anybody goes through, it's $4. 77% of the people going through are out of state. If somebody from out of state wanted to bypass, well, they can do the same thing. Now, if you don't want to do it, if you don't ever go on a turnpike, you don't have to do it. But it'll generate us a pot full of extra money. We're going to put that in this bonding as well. Now, the good thing about it, from the question you asked, sir, is that bonding has to be spent on the 10 counties in the southern part of West Virginia that surround the turnpike. That's great. That's great. And down the road, we're going to probably toll something else, maybe in the northern panhandle, or the eastern panhandle, or somewhere else, whether it be a bridge or a new road or whatever when we build it. And so that will just make the pot even bigger. Now, the other thing that's got to happen along the way is this, and this can happen. This is another thing from Donald. As we go forward, he's going to go forward with an infrastructure program at some point in time, if he can get the Russians off of him, or he can get the health care situation some way settled down, and he can get on with what he wants to do. He will come with an infrastructure program that surely we hope will bring additional billions into the state of West Virginia. I think Tom would say that it takes $8 billion to complete every road and highway in the state. Is that correct?
More than that, Governor.
Okay.
2, 3 billion.
No, I said 8.
Oh, 8. I thought you said 8.
No.
That's correct.
No, it takes 8 total billion, I think, to do it all. And we've got at play here 2.8 billion. Okay? Well, we need Donald. We got to have him. And I really, truly believe he'll come to the table with something. And that will help us even more. So all this being said, I think we're on our way. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to shove the snowball, and it's going to head down the hill. And then lots and lots of things are going to. Can you just imagine this? The Duke study says for every $1 billion of road work you spend, you create 20,000 jobs. Well, we're going to do, in what we got let for sure, on new work, we're going to do 2.4 billion. And on work of existing roads, we're going to do hundreds and hundreds of millions to get them back to where they ought to be. Now, 2.4 times 20,000 is 48,000 new jobs. 48,000 jobs in the state of West Virginia will bring in so much revenue, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable what it'll do. And then what we want it to do is just keep going. Everybody would say, well, what's going to happen when those roads are done? Well, we hope to goodness we got the state cranking, and we're building more roads. And we're building more roads. And Donald's putting more money in, and we're building more roads. And more jobs are coming, and more jobs are coming, and more jobs are coming. That's what you do. Please ask me something else, anything. Yes, sir.
Just talking about the opioid problem. McDowell usually leads the state per capita in the number of overdose deaths. Yet we don't have the first facility in this county. Under Governor Tomlin, I wrote him a letter to shame on you and to both the House and the Senate for neglecting McDowell County. And their response was, who's running against him for sheriff? So I want to know also, they're wanting to know about the roads. And at the time, Governor Tomlin was handing out all this money for new facilities that counties had already had them all around us. McDowell County don't have the first one, and their response that was handed down to me, you don't have the infrastructure. I said, well, you may be right, but we have you. We have you as governor. We have the delegates and the senators and U.S. senator and representatives. Somebody needs to understand that these are not just numbers. These are people we know that's dying, and we're leaving the state. And still, there's, even from Washington, there's major legislation about helping, but we're not seeing any, and yet we still leave the state and everything that's bad. And all these people dying senselessly that could be helped. And I was a magistrate for 27 years, sending people all across the state for mental treatment that's addicted to drugs and alcohol and had mental problems. And yet we don't have the first facility in this county. So you were asking about questions, and I'd like some answers about, what you're going to do as far as governor, and it's good what you're doing about the highway. It's never been done in this measure. And we applaud you for that. But we need help on the opioid problem, and we need it right now because people's dying every day.
Okay. I really understand, and I hear you. One thing I'm not going to do, I'm not going to promise anything I can't deliver on. And to be perfectly honest, can I promise that we're going to put a treatment facility in McDowell County today? I can't promise you that. But here's what I can promise you. And this I will do absolutely for certain, is just think about this just 1 second. With the roads package, this is exactly what I came with in the state of the state. This is what I came with. I said we need to put a 5% successful bidder's fee on the successful bids. Did I not say that? All right, now. That 5% fee, then I said we need to bucket every dime of that to combat the drug epidemic. And do you understand what, and I bet you there's not half of you that understands what I'm talking about here. What I said to do was this: if you bid on a road job, you've got to incorporate in your bid a 5% fee that you're going to have to pay, just like labor, input, fuel, everything in your bid. Let's say it's a $10 million road job, and you want the job bad, and you end up bidding $10.5 million because your bid was $10 million, and then you added 5%, and that made it 0.5. So you're going to bid $10.5 million, and you're looking at your bid, and you say, if I bid 10.5, I'm not going to get the job. And so I'm going to go back and I'm going to sharpen my pencil. I got to get under 10 million. And so you sharpen the pencil, you take a little bit out of labor, you take a little bit out of fuel, take a little bit out of parts, take a little bit out of how much your equipment payments are and everything, and you come to 9.9. And you submit your bid at 9.9 and you get the bid. And you have to pay the 5% fee. We as the state could have got the 5% fee for almost nothing. And the contractors were all on board to do it. And the legislature threw it all away. Threw it all away, gone. You know how much money it would have been to do exactly what you're talking about? $150 million. We could have fixed the drug epidemic in this state with treatment facilities and social workers and law enforcement and on and on and on. You can't fix that problem that you're talking about with a Band-Aid and an aspirin. You can't do it. And politicians can stand all day long in West Virginia and say they're going to do something in McDowell County, but if they don't have any money, they're not going to do it. No matter what they say, they're not doing it. And our legislature, threw it all away. Now, something I'm going to do, and I'll promise you I'm going to do this. I'm calling them back, and I'm going to call them back really soon. And you know what we're going to vote on? We're going to vote on two things. We're going to vote on that 5% that I'm talking about, and we're going to vote on exempting the veterans' retirement in this state. You know how much that would have cost us? $3 million. We could have brought veterans like crazy to our state, exempting their retirement. $3 million. Threw it away. Threw it away. If we could think about veterans coming to our state, what do they bring? Think about what they bring. They bring the highest training on the highest technology in the land. And a lot of those veterans still want to work. And if they don't want to work, they're willing to go teach. You know, and the veterans love West Virginia because most of them love to hunt and fish and they love the seasons and everything else under the sun. Why? Why did we do that? Now, I will promise you, this I'll promise you. If we can some way come up with the money, McDowell County is the perfect spot for what you're talking about. It is plagued in the worst way of worst ways. And I'll try with all in me to have a treatment facility either located in McDowell or on your doorstep here to where we can help and do what you're needing to do. I will promise that. I've got to have the legislature vote for things that just make good sense. I mean, Jiminy Christmas, how we could have thrown away that 5% fee, threw it away for nothing, for nothing. Now, you can't make it up in my book. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I just want to applaud you for your hard work getting this passed this year. As a long-serving member of the legislature, I have never seen anybody work as hard as you did in getting the programs, getting the budget passed. And I want to say thank you for that, and thank you for coming here today. But what I wanted to talk to you about is the investment that you're asking the people of West Virginia to allow you to make. You're asking the people to allow you to borrow money, a bond, and use money that's already set aside, pay it back over 10, 20 years. I don't know how long it's going to be. That's about as simple as it gets. You can use, as Tom said there earlier, a little bit each year to pay a few things, or you can allow that money to be bonded and do a whole lot of work all at one time, and we get the benefit from it at that time. But now, also what I wanted to say is if you'll use that money here, for some of it, a lot of it we hope, you're making an investment with us. The industrial park you mentioned earlier, you used coal out there, the coal that's in the ground, to help offset the cost of all that excavation. You put coal miners.
Partially.
You put coal miners to work, and the community benefited from that. Now here in southern West Virginia, as you know, we've got coal. They don't have coal in the eastern panhandle. They don't have a whole lot of coal, you know, when you build a bridge somewhere in the northern panhandle or whatever. But when you build roads here, we give something back. We give something back. The last contract we did for coal fields, the state projected it would cost $73 million. It came in at 43.5. Because the contractor did due diligence and knew how much coal was there to be mined as he built the road. They're hauling 50 truckloads of coal off that site every Saturday. That's how much coal they're mining, doing what they're doing. Keeping people working, they're employing local people up there, and they're doing a great job. Bizak is the wonderful contractor. So what I'm telling you is, we already know, and I'm sure you do too, how much coal is between Mullins and Piles. Gordon and I have worked together many years. We know how much coal is between the industrial park and Route 52. We've been to the state many times talking about pairing up with some coal companies and then developing that road down there too. So one of everything I'm telling you is that if you choose to spend money here, we give you something back. We give you a lower cost, plus it gives coal mining jobs back to the state. And that's good service. Thank you.
He makes a tremendous point, and I completely, totally understand that point because I've been a participant in that as well. You know, and all I would say is just this, Richard, is Tom understands, not to the magnitude that I understand that. The state understands, but not to the magnitude, again, that I understand it. And it is very valid, and we need to absolutely pursue that in every way, because you're basically building a road here for, you know, 60% on the dollar or 6 cents on the dollar, or you may be even building a road here for 2 cents on the dollar, you know, and it's something we really need to look at.
Well, I can say, Ford will back me up on this. Of all the meetings that we had in Charleston over the 27 years that I've been a part of the highway, when Tom Smith was federal administrator for the Federal Department of Highway, Tom Smith was always someone, when we went down there to sit down with him, he never said no. And we took some cockamamie ideas down there to get, you know, the state to buy in on them, the feds to buy in on. But Tom never said no. He said, well, let's look at that. Let's see how we can do that. And that's what you have here. And I want to thank you for all that service and thank you in advance for what we're going to do with all this money that's coming.
Well, I agree with Richard about Tom there. What, let me say, you know, Richard said they took some cockamamie ideas down there. There's never been a more cockamamie idea than what came out of these two people and yourself, and I don't know who all else, you know, Carl and other people that were involved. I'll never forget it, you know, and I've got to tell you, I'll never forget it till I die. They called me on the phone and said they want me to meet them in Bluefield. And they had the idea in the back of a restaurant. We sat over there, and they had this idea. They said, we got this piece of land, and we can level off a big area, and we can some way, somehow put a federal prison there. And I thought they were crazy. I said, well, I'll do anything, and I did. I put my money where my mouth was. I said, I'll do it. I'll do it. I don't need to make one dime in the world. I'll do it. I'll be glad to participate any way I possibly can. I'll bid it that way and everything, and I did. But I never in the world would have believed that they could have pulled it off. There was no way that they could have pulled it off. But they did it. They did it. And it shows the commitment and the passion of the Richards and Ronalds and Gordon and Carl and all the other people that participated. It shows the commitment and their love for their county. And, you know, cockamamie ideas can become realities. And that's what we need to have happen here a whole lot. Okay, I'm gone. I got to go. They're telling me I got to go. I'm going to Williamson. Y'all be good. Thank y'all. All right, wait just 1 second. This gentleman wants to say something.
You have came into this position as governor for a certain time, reaching out to help in any way you can. And I really feel that in your presence. I really appreciate what you're doing. My question to you, sir, is what does we as not only a community, county, district, or state do to help you?
It's Terry, right?
Yes.
Well, Terry, here's what you can do. All of you, whether you know it or don't know it, know that I don't need this job for me. I don't want a thing for me, nothing. But the one thing I can't do is I can't be your governor and do a good job if I don't. Let me give you one more little bit of insight. If you put me in a totally dark tunnel, I'm not any good. But if you put me in a tunnel that's got a twinkle of light somewhere, there's nobody better. Nobody. Nobody. But the problem is just this. You don't really have a clue what's going on. You don't know how bad you were hurt by the actions of what the legislature did. You don't know. You really don't know, or you would be screaming at the top of your lungs. And what I don't want to do is just this. I don't want to run myself blooming ragged and try with all in me over and over and over. And the only thing that you're looking at people and you can't believe in your heart, and this sounds terrible, but you've got good people there, there's no question, but you have an avalanche of people there that care about one thing, and that's getting reelected. And it's no good. It's no good. And your voice needs to be heard. If you want to know what you can do, get off your hind end and let your voice be heard. Because I can't get you there without them. I can't do it. I can tell you that we did the dumbest stuff that we could ever have done. And we turned our back on the very people that need us the very most. The weak and the sick and the disabled and the teachers and the minors and on and on and on. The very people that needed us the most. And I stood right in front of them and pleaded with them, don't do this, don't do it. But you don't know it, Terry. You don't know it. You've almost been beat down and expected to know your place. Know that you're dead last and accept that. And when we really are confronted with it, we don't like that. But really and truly, we are beat down and expected to know our place. And that's where I need you. I need you to let your voice be heard and say, by God, we're not going to send these people back down there if they don't listen and they don't look after us. And not only here, we've got this all across the land. It makes no sense. I'll tell you this last story. I had stuff done. I had stuff worked out. Armstead, on the Republican side, he didn't more want to do what he was willing to do than to fly through the sky. He didn't want to do it. And I absolutely just beat on him and beat on him and beat on him. And finally, I had him ready to go. And who walked completely away from me was the Democrats. They walked completely away at D-Day. And we lost it right then. That's what happened. Now, I sat with people, ran right into caucuses, and you know what they did? They turned and looked right at me and said, but if we do that, we won't get reelected. I swear they did. If I died this very minute, senators and House members looked right at me and said, well, if we do that, they won't reelect us. Let me tell you, there's a reason we're dead last, and we got to do something about it. I got to run. Thank y'all.